Picture this. It's 1912, a freezing night in the North Atlantic. Titanic is heading straight for an iceberg, but plot twist, this time disaster is avoided. No sinking, no lifeboat drama, and definitely no floating on doors. But how would history unfold if Titanic's story wasn't a tragedy? From dodging icebergs to becoming a wartime hero, hosting Einstein and Chaplin, and inspiring even bigger ships, this alternate timeline dives into what could have happened if the Titanic stayed afloat. Let's explore. Let's start where history almost took a sharp turn, literally. On April 15th, 1912, Titanic is gliding through icy waters when lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spot the iceberg. Bells ring, warnings are shouted, and First Officer William Murdoch pulls off a ship-saving move that feels like it came straight out of an action movie. Hard a starboard. Engines reverse, and the Titanic grazes the iceberg. The damage? Minimal, more like scratching your car's bumper than sinking a ship. On board, the passengers barely notice. In first class, they're too busy with champagne and self-congratulatory conversations about their unsinkable ship. Second class, they're probably just happy the food is decent. And third class, relieved their cabins are still above water. When Titanic docks in New York on April 17th, the press goes wild with headlines like, "Titanic dodges disaster. The unsinkable legend lives on. Captain Edward J. Smith retires with honors instead of infamy." And the White Star Line capitalizes on the moment, branding Titanic as the ship that outsmarts icebergs. But not everyone is clinking champagne glasses. Among the passengers is Lawrence Beasley, a second-class traveler who decides to turn Titanic's close call into a call for action. In a scathing article titled, "Titanic's Near Miss, What Could Have Gone Wrong?" he criticizes the ship's lack of lifeboats and disorganized emergency drills, suggesting that complacency is the real iceberg to fear. His article gains traction and sets the stage for the 1913 International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS. Thanks to Titanic's near miss, reforms like lifeboats for every passenger, mandatory 24/7 radio operators, and expanded iceberg patrols become a reality. But since no major tragedy occurred, progress is slower, more eventual improvements than a full-scale revolution in maritime safety. And then history takes another turn, World War I. In 1914, Titanic trades luxury for duty, getting refitted as a hospital ship to serve the British Admiralty. Her new nickname? The White Angel. Thanks to her reinforced hull, upgraded after the 1912 scare, she shrugs off mines and torpedoes like a true hero. Titanic becomes a lifeline for the Allied forces, transporting thousands of wounded soldiers from the front lines. Violet Jessup, a crew member who seems destined to survive everything, documents her experiences on board, writing, "The chaos was unrelenting, but Titanic's resilience saved so many lives." Unlike her sister ship Britannic, which sinks in 1916 after hitting a mine, Titanic continues to prove her unsinkable reputation. After the war, Titanic doesn't just fade into the background. Instead, she returns to civilian life as a luxury liner, and she's better than ever. Her post-war upgrades include opulent first-class suites, improved wireless systems, and safety features galore, making her the crown jewel of transatlantic travel. By the early 1920s, Titanic is the place to be seen. Celebrities like Albert Einstein and Charlie Chaplin are among her notable passengers. Einstein, ever the thinker, likely jotted down some of his relativity ideas while enjoying the ship's lavish tea service in 1921. Chaplin, on the other hand, is said to have entertained passengers with impromptu silent skits during his 1922 voyage. Titanic becomes a floating palace, synonymous with glamour and success. However, competition from rival liners like Cunard's Mauretania pushes White Star Line to think even bigger. Plans for Titanic's successor, aptly named Gigantic, start taking shape, a ship envisioned to be even larger, more luxurious, and unsinkabler. But Titanic's survival doesn't just affect her story, it changes the world around her. Confidence in ocean liners soars, delaying the rise of air travel as the go-to for transatlantic journeys. Meanwhile, prominent figures spared by the iceberg like John Jacob Astor IV, Isidore and Ida Strauss, and Benjamin Guggenheim go on to shape American industry, philanthropy, and culture in profound ways. Even J.P. Morgan, who avoids the PR disaster of the real Titanic tragedy, funnels his resources into bold new infrastructure projects. However, without the Titanic tragedy, the cultural landscape shifts. The hymn, "Nearer My God to Thee," never becomes associated with the ship, and we lose the poignant art, literature, and films inspired by the disaster. There's no Titanic movie in 1997. No Jack and Rose, no dramatic "I'll Never Let Go." Maybe James Cameron would have made Iceberg Dodge the true story. So what if the Titanic never sank? Could it have become a wartime hero, a glamorous symbol of luxury, and a driving force behind maritime safety? Absolutely. But let's be clear, this alternate timeline is just that, alternate. It's a fascinating mix of what-ifs and speculation. In reality, history doesn't always play out so smoothly. Still, it's fun to imagine a world where the Titanic dodges disaster and sails into history as a legend of triumph, not tragedy. What do you think? Could this timeline have worked? If you loved this dive into alternate history, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment. How do you think history would have changed if the Titanic didn't sink? Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.